Welcome to another episode of 30 Minutes with DailyStraits.com. Our guest today is the founder of New Zealand based entrepreneur Elisha Watson, the CEO and founder of Nisa, an underwear and leisurewear label that started in 2017. Elisha got the idea to start her brand while working as a lawyer and volunteering with the Red Cross refugee resettlement program. Sharing a love of sewing with many of the women in the former refugee community, the idea of setting up a sewing workshop to provide employment opportunities took off from there on. Elisha later quit her job, set up a crowdfunding campaign, and then went about the process of hiring her first employees, buying machines, and looking for a sunny space to base her workshop to start the brand. She did all this while not having any fashion or industrial sewing experience at all. So today we're going to speak to Elisha on why she decided to start an underwear label, which has sprung into a leisurewear now, and how she makes a profit through a social enterprise. Without further ado, let's invite Elisha to the show. Hi, Elisha. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me here.
Thank you. Great. So let's get right into the question. So just a short, a snippet on how Nisa got its start because you were
Mm.
working in a flying job as a corporate lawyer, or was it
Mm.
just lawyer?
Yeah, so I was working as a litigation lawyer actually back in the day. So I just graduated, and it was my first job out of university. Working at one of the top law firms in New Zealand. So that was the big corporate office, the on the top floor of this giant building with amazing views of the harbour. It's not really my life anymore, but you know,
So
it was
and
nice to kind of soak up the glamour while I still could.
yeah, so and then how in you were volunteering with the Red Cross on the side, or was that part of the job?
Yeah, no, no. So those were two very separate things. So I was working. My day job was working as a lawyer, and then on the weekends and the nights I would be working as a resettlement volunteer, helping to resettle recently arrived families, and also at the community law centre, which is really focused around legal advice to people who had just arrived in New Zealand and people who are former refugees.
So what was the calling for that? Why did you want to do that?
I guess I had lived overseas in Germany when I was younger, so when I was 19 and 20. And I had seen a lot of anti-refugee sentiment over in Europe, and I really didn't want New Zealand to be the same. I wanted New Zealand to be a welcoming place, a place where people could restart their lives after some pretty difficult experiences. And I guess there'd been a bit of stuff in the news that really caught my attention, like the little boy that washed up on the beach. His name was Alan Kurdi. That was maybe quite a few years ago now, but just seeing this little toddler who died trying to get across to Europe made me, I guess, galvanized a lot of support for refugee issues around the world. So that's kind of what got me thinking in that headspace and really wanting New Zealand to be different.
Okay, so you did that, and then while you were volunteering, you had an aha moment when you decided that you wanted to help these ladies. I mean, they were mostly ladies, right, that you were helping?
Yeah, that's right. We've actually, not through any particular plan, but all of our employees have been women. So, yeah, we're a entirely female team.
All right, so you wanted to help these women
Mm,
get into employment, and you thought of setting up a sewing workshop to provide
mm.
them employment. So why sewing, because when I read your background, it says that you had no experience in sewing. Did you take up sewing when you were young or something?
So I'd done a wee sewing course before I started Nisa, and that's how I taught myself to sew. And then kind of that was a really cool point of connection for me and a lot of women in the refugee community. And so we talked about a lot about the dresses we'd made and all that kind of stuff. But I never had any formal fashion training. Like, it was just a little night course that I did. No professional experience whatsoever. But I guess it was just a love of sewing garments, and then also recognizing that skill set on a lot of the people in the community. Like, a lot of people had sewing backgrounds, had sewn from when they were really young, and a lot of people had worked in the industry professionally. There's not much of an industry here in New Zealand anymore for garment manufacturing, so I thought it would be a cool way to do something a bit different, kind of going against the tide of like moving everything offshore, doing something here locally in New Zealand, and using those strengths that people already had.
All right. So you started a crowdfunding. What was the next step? Was it a crowdfunding, or you decided on?
I actually got my first employees and set up the workshop first, mainly because in order to crowdfund something, you actually have to already be doing it. It's really hard to crowdfund without like the pictures and the plan. So we already started doing it, but we crowdfunded to get a new machine, and then we ended up doing so well that we actually ended up hiring a production manager with that money, and that was a total game changer. Because I am not, as you might have gathered, not a garment manufacturing expert by any stretch of the imagination. So,
All right. So you started in July and you left your job in September. So in that a couple of months, right? You were like moonlighting.
not really. So what actually happened is that I quit so we formally incorporated in July, and I knew I wanted to get it off the ground, but I quit my job. But a few months later, we kind of did set it up properly, got the workshop, and that's when I quit my job. So there wasn't really much of a crossover there. I just decided it's what I wanted to do, quit the job, and went from there.
And you used your own savings to start?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it wasn't, I guess at the time it seemed like a lot of money, but now when you get, I guess, used to the business world, you're just used to seeing like large amounts of sums washing in and out of accounts. So you get pretty, like, at the time it seemed like a really big deal, but now you get a bit, maybe it's kind of used to it.
It was very brave of you to do that. So how many employees did you get the first round?
We started off with a team of 3 working kind of casually, so only 1 or 2 days a week. And now we're a team of 10, and most people are, working 30 to 40 hours a week. So, yeah.
All right. Okay. So let's go to the other question is underwear, because underwear is a very hard thing to do, because you need expertise to sew that. It's not like you can go online, and also some of the you need underwires, and then you need someone to actually know how to place them from start to finish. It's just like wedding gowns. It's a very specialized kind of sewing. And like you said, you had no background, and then you hired all these ladies who just came to New Zealand through refugees. So what did you do? Like, I'm curious. Did you go on YouTube? Did you get a lot of manuals, or how did you like teach them?
No. So that's where the production manager came in. She was very handy. But the easiest way is just to reverse engineer something. So you work out what underwear it is that you're trying to make. And then you kind of take it apart and work out how it was made. And then you kind of go about recreating that same thing yourself. So the hardest thing, though, of course, is sourcing. So there's no place that you can go for like underwear parts in any kind of commercial sense, like, the quality of elastics and parts that you need. You can't really just buy from a normal shop. So that was definitely the biggest hurdle, finding suppliers, because there's nothing really in New Zealand the industry in New Zealand's collapsed, so you have to source globally. But sourcing globally also means huge minimums and having to like commit a lot early on. And we ended up having to buy directly from manufacturers. So that means instead of buying through middlemen who kind of break things down and mean that you can buy lower quantities of things, we had to buy huge volumes direct from source to get exactly what we wanted. So yeah, that was probably the biggest hurdle in the beginning, was that kind of sourcing stuff.
So you were on the internet a lot, on Alibaba website?
Not really. To be honest, most of the suppliers, so this was nearly 4 years ago. Maybe it's still the case, but most really, really, really big suppliers don't even have proper websites, because their clients are like Nike and they're huge clients. Like, they don't need to have anything customer facing. They don't need to be found. So that kind of breaking through that is really, really quite difficult. Yeah.
How did you go about it? Is it because of the production manager? She had contacts?
No. I just ended up, there's a lingerie trade fair, and they have that happens, I think, a few times a year globally. And you have to pay mega bucks as a supplier. Like, all of the best factories in the world are there that deal with lingerie products and parts. And to showcase there, you have to pay a lot of money for like a booth or whatever. And I could never dream of going there, because it's so expensive even to attend. But they put out supplier lists, so the directory of the people that are going to be showing at that event. So I just got that supplier list, and I was like, these people, what do they do? Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay, Nisa, I
Mm-hmm.
gotta ask you, why underwear? You did say that because underwear, clothes are a bit oversaturated, and underwear is everyone probably would need underwear at some point of their life. Is that why you went through, or did you have a special thing for lingerie a long time ago?
No, not at all. I think it was just I was and still am a big fan of secondhand clothing, and I think that there's enough clothing in the world to last us a long, long time. Like it's whereas underwear is something I'd personally never buy secondhand. Socks as well, and so I felt like there was really a justification for it. Like I could put my hand in my heart and say like people need these items. So that was one of the reasons, but there were loads of others. Like underwear was really small, and we just had a small workshop, so that worked out quite well. Super cheap to post all around the world, so allows us to become a bit more of a global company just because of these, like the size of the product. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for underwear.
That's great. Okay, so how much did you get from the crowdfunding that you did, and what platform did you use? I'm asking, like, did you
Yeah.
go to Kickstarter, stuff like
No,
that?
no, we used a New Zealand specific platform called Pledge Me, and so we raised $20,000, and yeah, that was just enough to kind of get us on our feet, take on the production manager, and go from there.
And what about your own personal investment? How much did you put in? Because from
I
your
can't
job.
even remember anymore, to be honest. I feel like it's a long time ago now, but it was definitely all of my savings. But I'd only been, but it doesn't really feel. I don't know, when you really love something, it doesn't feel like a huge sacrifice.
All right. So, okay, so did you get any personal kind of funding or from anyone else or any kind of like angel investors?
No, none of that. We just bootstrapped, paid for it ourselves. But I think there have been like key people that helped us along our way that never, that because we had such a, I guess, an inspiring mission, people really helped us out a lot. Like we had the first person who did our marketing, Shannon Ray, she was amazing. And like, our rent in our first building was so cheap because they wanted to help us out. Like all of these really important people just bent over backwards to make it happen. So it's not so much about money, it's more about that kind of stuff that makes the biggest difference.
All right, so great. You had all that support from the start.
Mm.
So did you for the first collection, how many designs did you come up with?
I think we had 4 styles of underwear, and that was it.
Well, and how did you start selling them to get, the money rolling so that you can
Yeah, we,
start?
we use Shopify. I can definitely recommend Shopify as a great platform for selling online. We're big Shopify fans over here.
All right. And then you used a lot of Facebook marketing because, Shopify, people need to find you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I guess we focus a lot on our organic social media presence. So really trying to build a community around us. A lot of the people that buy from us aren't actually even on social media. So it's really about trying to have as many direct touch points as you possibly can, like through email, just any way that you can communicate with the people that want to hear with you directly.
And at any time when you left your job to do this, did you like have like a buff? I ask this to all entrepreneurs because they leave a really cushy job and they go into entrepreneurship, because you're not sure what's going to happen because it's a pretty question mark kind of a career move. What
Hmm.
about, did you save any money? Did you have a buffer, to help you get through hard times? How did you
Um,
manage?
I just managed. I did what a lot of people do, which is they moved back in with their parents. So, like rent, I just reduced my own cost of living as much as I possibly could, and rent is a big one. Um, and so so I didn't need a lot of money, but I do need a roof over my head, and I do need to eat. And I was really lucky that my parents could provide those things in the first. I think I stayed there for a year. I think that's
Mhm.
about right. So yeah, while that was I'm very lucky in that sense, and not everyone has that. And that's what kind of makes me sad about the world of entrepreneurialism, because you do need a large amount of support, to even have the chance of making those big jumps.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's true. That's true. So, okay, let's talk about social enterprise. So, all the entrepreneurs that I've done interviewed before this, they just have a company. So, yours is a social enterprise. So, I can see that you're helping women, marginalized women, get into employment. But there's also a business side to this Nisa. So, I just wanted to find out, how does a social enterprise make a profit?
The same way that a business makes a profit, it's to be honest, like the mechanics aren't much different. We make stuff, we sell stuff, and we use what we sell to pay our bills, which is like staff costs, rent, electricity, all of those kind of boring things. So it looks much like a business. But I guess the idea of a social enterprise is that people and planet go first, profit kind of goes second. So you're making profit to achieve outcomes for the community and for the planet, not for yourself. Like if I wanted to make money, I'd still be a lawyer. It's not. Yeah, so it's definitely not. Money isn't the driving force. You use money to create change and make your, I guess, just increase the impact that your business is having.
All right. So are all your employees refugees, or you make an
Most of the majority are. So we've got our production manager is Kiwi, as is our a few other staff, but yeah, the majority are from refugee and migrant backgrounds. Some people say, why aren't all your staff from refugee and migrant backgrounds? But when you actually ask our team about it, who are from those backgrounds, people love having locals to chat to and to learn the ropes from, and to like really be, I guess, introduced to the city and to this place. And so we'd never want to lose that.
All right. So how do you find these employees? Like, do you
Yeah.
advertise on Seek New Zealand, or do they come?
Not really. So most of our recruitment for our production team is done via the Red Cross. So they have a Pathways to Employment program that helps people from refugee backgrounds find work in New Zealand. And then, yeah, I guess for like marketing roles and stuff, we post that kind of more generically on Seek. But yeah, we really try to basically offer as many opportunities to the Red Cross as we possibly can.
All right. So what is most of these employees that you hire, can they speak English, or do you have you need to?
Most people, I guess everyone's there'd be no possible way to live in New Zealand with no English. Everyone has at least like some kind of basic way to communicate. But people's English level are really different. And I guess it depends like how old they were when they arrived here, what they did back home, loads of different things. And we pride ourselves on being able to take people with quite limited English, because sewing is such like a manual thing. You can show people how to do it just through demonstrating it. So you can get through like a lot of those barriers that language causes. And then the idea is that through doing that and through being in an environment that's English rich, people just start picking it up from there and start speaking more. So that's the idea.
Wait, so you train them a bit before they?
Well, they have to be completely trained in making underwear, because no one knows how to do that just naturally. And the idea is that the English just gets better naturally by being in the workshop. And then occasionally we have like special language learning kind of activities, or we don't anymore, but at points in times we've had like an English tuition in-house and things like that.
That's great. Okay, so what is the brand's unique selling point, and how do you stand out from the competition? Because this is a lingerie brand, and there's like tons of them out there. And then there's also the big guys like Triumph, the ones that we always use for generations. So how do you stand out?
I guess it's pretty easy for us because no one's doing what we're doing. It's we're about as far away from a generic underwear brand as you could possibly be. So that makes it easy.
Alrighty. And what about how does company's 4 years old, give and take? So what is the revenue looking like? If you don't mind sharing.
we're hoping to be, fingers crossed, by the end of this financial year, we're hoping to be at about 1 million in revenue. I don't know if we'll get there. Fingers crossed. But that's the dream this financial year.
What is your financial year? Over here is June. What is New
It goes to
Zealand?
March.
Oh, March. Okay, great. So everything, all sales are done through the Shopify website, or do you
Yep,
have
that's right.
presence? Oh, that's
We've
great.
got a shop in Wellington, and that's a really great way to connect with customers because customers can come in and see how everything's made. But yeah, the vast majority of our sales are just through our website, which is www.nisa.co.nz.
And most of the buyers are from New Zealand, or are they worldwide?
We've got quite a few. We've got a big following in Australia now as well. And then because people can technically buy from us from any country in the world, we get just a random mix of, I have no idea how people have found out about us, but yeah, from all over the world.
Great, that's great. So everything is made in New Zealand, right? It's 100% produced in New Zealand, right?
Yep, that's right. Yeah. So
All
we
right.
make everything in our workshop except for the socks, which are made by another New Zealand company. So all of the, because we also sell socks, but we're not a sock factory. So we rely on our pals up in a little town in the north of New Zealand to do that for us. But yeah, everything else is made right here, over there.
How many seamsters do you have right now?
We are, oh God, I think the production team is 6 people and we're a team of 10 altogether, soon to be 11.
I'm very amazed. Now, how much of bras and undies do you produce in a month?
Oh God. Couldn't even tell you because they all take really different amounts of time to make. So we never spend just 1 month making bras or just 1 month making briefs. Every day is different.
Alrighty, no worries. All right. This is a fashion-based question. So how do you decide on new styles for the year? Because it's a fashion business. It's a very, the turnaround is very fast. Like, Zara, every 3 months they have a new collection.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what about your brand? Do you have the same pressure, or do you take a different kind of stance?
One really amazing thing about being in the world of underwear is that there's not really seasons per se. Like we do a merino collection for winter, and we do a swimwear collection in summer. But other than that, everything is like, if we want to do something new, we do something new. There's not like this rigid calendar that we have to keep to, which is really freeing for us. Yeah.
All right. Any new lines that's coming up in the
Yeah,
pipeline?
we're actually launching an activewear line at the end of September, which is going to be huge for us. It's a huge leap, very scary, but exciting.
Awesome. So you now in the bra and the swimwear, loungewear, and now you're gonna have an activewear.
That's one. It's kind of annoying because now there's no one word that kind of summarizes us. We used to be an underwear label, and now we're just this like string of words: underwear, activewear, leisurewear, swimwear. And I need to find some kind of new little term that brings it all together. But
Yeah, so September, what's the date? Do you have a launch date?
September 23rd is our launch day.
Wow. Is that your birthday?
No, it feels like it should be though. It'll be our 4th birthday in September as well, so it'll be a great way to celebrate.
All right, what is Nisa? Like, why did you decide the name Nisa? It sounds very it's like a woman's name, like a short, like a yeah.
Well, it actually means woman in Arabic. So when we started, a lot of our staff were Arabic speakers, so it was inspired by them.
Really, that's interesting. Wow. All right. Okay. Some of the plans that you have for the brand this year going forward. Okay. So you said you're going to do activewear, and what about expansion, like commercialization? Like probably, would that be in the pipeline soon? Like going mass production?
I don't know. We're putting a lot of effort into our growth, so we almost double in size every year. So our year-on-year growth rate is 70%. And that's when you make everything in-house, you can't just suddenly sell 1 million units tomorrow. Like, how would we do that? It wouldn't be possible. And I also think it would be really hard for us to keep our impact model if we were ever as big as like one of the biggest companies in the world. But saying that, we're really ambitious because the more underwear we sell, the more opportunities we can create. And so and I think the way that we're going to do this is direct to consumer. So we're not going to sell to other stores. We're not going to deal with other people. We just want that direct relationship with customers all around the world. Um, mm,
And also, might want to expand your manufacturing plant in New Zealand, hire more,
that's right. Yeah.
and not send it to, like, countries like China to do a mass production. That is not in
I
the.
don't. We're really focusing on Australia at the moment, and I guess you just go from there. You like pick the country that seems like the most logical step next. You really invest in them, and then after you've kind of got to a good level, then you go, who's next? So is there a plan for global domination? No, but is there a pathway to some really cool things? Yes, and you just take it step by step by step.
And who's doing the activewear? The same girls that are sewing the underwear?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's right.
all right. So, okay, that's all the time that we have for today. So, we have just spoken to Elisha Watson, the founder and CEO of Nisa. Thank you, Elisha, for giving us your time today.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
No worries, the pleasure is all ours. Be sure to join us next week as we aim to feature another awesome entrepreneur from across the Tasman. Thank you very much.